There comes a moment in every person's life where silence becomes the only language that still protects the soul. And the older we grow, the more we realize that not everyone deserves access to our mind, our time, or our peace. As Marcus Aurelius warned, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What he didn't need, but what we all eventually learn is that the wrong people try to stain that soul on purpose. Today we'll talk about the 4 signs, the final warnings that tell you it's time to walk away completely without hesitation, without guilt, without looking back. No out of anger, but out of self-preservation. Out of the quiet discipline a strong inner world demands. Let's begin. Sign 1. They drain your mind more than they feed it. Some people didn't come into your life to love you, support you, or walk beside you. They come to consume you. Psychologists call them energy parasites. The Stoics call them disturbers of the inner citadel. Epictetus spoke of them without mercy. If they harm your peace, they are not your people. This type of person has a pattern. You feel mentally heavier every time they leave. Your thoughts back. Your mood drops. It's as if they're presensor wires. Your internal state enters something smaller, weaker, more. It doesn't matter if they're a partner, a friend, or even family. Every interaction strips away your clarity. If their words leave scars, you must heal alone. If you constantly have to recover from them, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a psychological battlefield. And that's the biggest thing you can do. The most disciplined thing is to exit the battlefield entirely. People like this never take responsibility. They feed on, they create storms, then accuse you of being unable to handle. But listen closely. A Stoic docent stay where their peace is constantly under attack. We don't argue, we walk away. We don't beg. We detach, we don't explain. We protect our inner world with the same seriousness a soldier protects a fortress. When someone repeatedly cracks your stability, when their presence becomes a threat to your emotional discipline, that is your signal. Cut all contact. Not tomorrow. Not after one more chance now, because no wisdom grows in a mind that is constantly repairing itself from that same person. Sign 2, they manipulate your emotions to control your. There is a darker type of a person who cannot stand your independence, your clarity, your. To them, your calm is your confidence is a challenge, your boundaries are an insult. So they're a sword to emotional manipulation, blame shifting, guilt tripping, silent treatment, behind your back, twisting off, subtle insults wrapped in fake sudden kindness when they want something, disappearing when you need her. This is not this is strategy. Seneca once wrote, a man is enslaved by anyone he cannot criticize. When someone punishes you for speaking truth, expressing needs, or disagreeing, they don't want connection. They want. These people use your empathy. Your loyalty becomes your kindness becomes their. And here's the harshest truth. The more you try to reason with them, the deeper they hook into your emotions. A wise person does not fight them. A wise person deprives them of access. We do not win by. We win by disappearing from the battlefield entirely. Walking away is not cowardice. It is wisdom. It is what Marcus Aurelius called choosing not to be harmed and therefore not harmed. When a person twists your emotions into canes, you must sever the connection. No part-time contact, Naslo fading out. No, let's stay friends, cut them off. A manipulator cannot haunt a door you've welded shut. 3. When their presence slowly corrupts your inner world. There is a kind of person whose damage is not loud, but gradual. Not explosive, but corrosive. They dance about your life in one dramatic. They sabotage it, molecule by. And the worst part is that we often don't notice the decay until we feel our inner world collapsing under its own weight. This is the kind officer Marcus Aurelius warned us about when he wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Because if someone constantly introduces calcinto your thoughts, then little by little, they dye your soul and the color off their dysfunction. This is the momental, must-cut contact. Not out of hatred, not out of revenge, but out of reason. Stoic researcher Donald Robertson writes that one of the greatest forms of self-control is the ability to guard the impressions into our mind. Meaning, the people who allow into our lives are not neutral. They are either strengthening our moral character or eroding it. And the most dangerous person is not the one who insults you openly. It's the one who subtly rewires your inner compass. It begins quietly. One day you speak less freely because you fear their reaction. Another day, you suppress your joy because they mock what makes you shine. Soon you're walking on site, fearing that any step, any word, any mood will ignite their instability. At first you excuse them. You rationalize their bitterness. You tell yourself they're going through something, that you're being understanding, that it's not that bad. But inside your spirit, your clarity, your ability to stay balanced begins to fracture. Epictetus once warned, if you are not careful, you'll become the companion of a wolf. But wolves don't always look like wolves. Sometimes they look like friends, partners, family, colleagues, people who claim they care but drain you until you become a dim version of yourself. And this is where the Stoic heart must make its hardest decision. Because a true practitioner of inner discipline understands that anything compromising your peace is compromising your humanity. And the most destructive relations aren't the explosive ones, the fights, the arguments, the dramatization. No, the most destructive relations are the ones that slowly hinge in who we are. When someone mocks you, ashamed of your sensitivity, when someone makes you doubt your when someone makes you feel inferior, unworthy, unimportant, when someone turns your inner calm into a battlefield, that is not a person you can grow around. And growth is the A philosopher once said, we fall to the level of our surroundings, not rise, fall. Because decline always lies faster than discipline rises. And people who corrode your inner world may fall, not all at once, but piece by piece. Your patience, your confidence, your joy, your clarity, your purpose. So cutting contact is not abandonment. It is alignment. It is protecting the integrity of your inner kingdom. Seneca invincibles, a great mind. Becomes invincible when it withdraws into the self, meaning when we have to walk alone rather than need the connection that costs us our soul, we become unshakable. We're often fear-losing people, but the deeper fear, Theon, we rarely admit, is losing ourselves while trying to keep them. And so this is the lesson. When their presence plates your peace more than their absence would. When your inner world trembles every time they enter it. When staying with them means better. That's the moment. That's when a Stoic heart knows cutting contact is not cruelty. Cutting contact is a higher form of love. Love for the person you're trying to become. In the end, we protect our peace, not by isolating ourselves from humanity, but by refusing to let someone else's darkness shape our identity, because we only get one inner world, and we must guard it like something sacred. For, when they force you to betray your own nature, there comes a moment in life, not loud, not cinematic, not wrapped in drama, when you feel something inside you will begin to fracture. It's not caused by chaos outside, but by a deeper, more painful conflict. The slow realization that someone in your life is forcing you to abandon the person you were meant to. And this is one of the most profound signals that you must cut all contact. USC, for those of us who strive for inner discipline and self-mastery, our character is our compass, our moral code, our emotional clarity, our ability to remain grounded. These are not, they are our armor and our identity. But some people make it impossible to uphold that identity. Not because they attack us directly, but because they subtly pressure us to betray ourselves. Marcus Aurelius warned us in Meditations. The worst harm is done to your soul when you lose the ability to act as your nature demands. He wasn't speaking about extreme events. He was speaking about quiet, everyday, the kind that comes from people who slowly reshape your behavior through guilt, manipulation, or emotional distortion. These are the people whose presence demands that we become someone smaller, someone quieter, someone angrier, someone more defensive, someone we no longer recognize. And the tragedy is that this transformation is so gradual that we often don't notice it until the damage is already done. Stoicler William Irvine once wrote that to live a tranquil life you must protect the architecture of your mind. But some individuals, without intention, without awareness, sometimes without malice, begin to dismantle that architecture brick by brick. Their expectations crush your authenticity. Their judgment poisons your joy. Their chaos forces you into roles you never wanted to play. Their instability makes you reactive instead of intentional. And over time, you become a version of yourself that is unsteady, defensive, frustrated, or even numb. This is the internal alarm a Stoic never ignores, because a true practitioner of self-mastery understands that the most important battlefield is the one inside. When someone's influence forces you to act against your principles, when their presence pulls you away from your deepest values, your soul begins to experience a kind of moral suffocation. Epictetus said, when you give up your integrity, what do you have left to defend? And that is the core. That is the moment of truth. Because of every relationship, every connection, every bond in our lives has one hidden question woven into it. Who must I become in order to stay connected? If the answer requires you to swallow your truth, if the answer demands you silence your voice, if thin's war forces you into guilt, fear, emotional volatility, or a life of constant apologizing, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a psychological cage. People speak often of toxic behavior, manipulation, gaslighting, emotional instability, but darkest damage is not in the behavior itself. It's in a version of you that behavior forces into existence, and this is where the philosophical yard must rise. Not in anger, not in resentment, not in the desire to punish, but in defense of something far more sacred, your natural character. because your nature, your groundedness, your clarity, your self-control is not something accidental. It is the product of every struggle you've endured, every battle you fought, every wound you've healed. It is the heritage of your penitent, the reward of your discipline. To betray it, for the comfort of companionship, is the greatest loss, Seneca once wrote. Associate with those who lift you higher, withdraw from those who make you fall. But falling is seldom. It is incremental. It happens in small compromises, tiny concessions, what psychotherapists call micro-betrayals of the self. One day you pretend to be okay with something that hurt you deeply. Another day you laugh when you wanted to speak. Then, another day, you apologize for something that wasn't your fault, just to keep deep, and piece by piece, you're in. This is how the self dies. Not with thunder, but with whispers. And so when someone forces you to contort yours into a shape that does not reflect your nature when being near, them demands emotional performances instead of emotional truth. That is the moment the Stoic knows the path forward.